Welcome back to another episode of Highlighted, the All Sports Culture Podcast. Today is a special Super Bowl episode. It just went down. Sam, Sully, and Kurt, of course, trio's back. So we're obviously going to be breaking down everything that happened in the Super Bowl. But first, I just want to say that Highlighted, the All Sports Culture Podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the simplest form of fantasy sports right now. You basically pick 2 to 5 players. You pick the over-under on their fantasy points, and you can do multi-sports. So you could do Mahomes over, and you could do LeBron under. Now, if you did the Mahomes over, my condolences are with you. My prayers are with you, because that definitely did not hit. But regardless, obviously, you can put in $10 and you can win up to 100. So you can just, quadruple your money's worth. Incredible app. Prize Picks. Make sure you use code ALLSPORTS because they will match any deposit you make up to $100. So Prize Picks, code ALLSPORTS. So getting into the Super Bowl, just went down 31-9. First, let's throw it to everyone, get some quick thoughts, and then obviously we can break it down individually on things that we think went down in this game, went wrong for one team, went right for the other, blah, blah, blah. Overall, I don't think anyone thought that it would go like this. No one thought it'd be 31-9 in either team's side. I never really, even though I picked the Chiefs, I didn't really think it'd be a blowout. And, I didn't think that the Bucs would be able to do this in any universe. I don't know, Thanos doing some crazy shit right now. But it did end that way, and I really got to say that, the biggest things I see from this is, offensive line play from the Chiefs, penalties, some drops, and Mahomes obviously a little injured. Obviously, that came out of pregame. He's going to get the surgery on his foot. But what did you guys think of the game?
The biggest thing is Tampa Bay is just incredible. I mean, obviously, I was on your train, Sully. I was picking the Chiefs as well. I was pretty confident in this pick. I took them 3.5, and obviously, the last podcast had the Zoom name of Chiefs minus 3.5. Pretty confident in that, but it didn't work out, and I can understand why, because you look at Tampa Bay, and ever since after the 12 games, went 7-5, they never looked back, and they've won every single game since. It's remarkable what they did, going on the road and winning every road game in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs, and then obviously technically having the home game in the Super Bowl. But Tampa Bay, the biggest thing that I took away from this team today is the defense. I mean, the whole focal point, the whole discussion coming into this game was how is the Tampa defense going to stop Mahomes in the offense? But kind of what we should have been saying is how is Mahomes in this offense going to break down or get past this Tampa Bay defense? And no one kind of expected that to be the narrative of the game. Tampa Bay, props to them. They just had a remarkable year, and it just goes to show that no matter what team Tom Brady's on, as long as he's on the team, he's going to keep this team or whatever team he's on in consideration for the Super Bowl. So massive props to Tampa Bay. And as for Kansas City, obviously it wasn't the game plan or what they expected. And, it was what the linebackers did for Tampa Bay that was so crucial, because obviously you see Kansas City, their whole game plan is we want to go deep. We want to have these explosive plays. But because of the incredible linebacker play that, Tampa Bay was presenting us with, obviously they could drop back with the safeties and they could take away the big play. And that is ultimately how they broke down the Kansas City offense. So massive respect to Todd Bowles and what he did as a defensive coordinator. Obviously you go on Twitter and you see that he should get an opportunity to be a head coach next year. And I fully agree. Obviously it didn't extremely work out in his first stint as a head coach, but what he's done as a DC has been nothing short of remarkable. But Kansas City, like you said, Sully, they kind of beat themselves at times with the penalties. I mean, in the first half, it was absurd how many penalties that team had. You finally would think to yourself, they caught a break, and then it would be a stupid penalty. Some of the calls were obviously up for debate, but it wasn't anything to the point where it was a whole, turning point, I guess, of the game. I don't think those calls were why Tampa Bay won. I mean, Tampa Bay just won because they were obviously the better team. And then, the O-line play was terrible from Kansas City, but we kind of knew that their O-line was shaken up, and we should have kind of saw this coming. Obviously, Sam has referred to this before. He was saying how Tampa Bay has a good chance of getting to Mahomes in this game. You obviously look at the front seven that they have, but we were saying, Mahomes is so good at escaping the blitz. It didn't seem like it was going to be this monumental problem, but while it maybe was his turf toe, whatever you want to, or whatever the injury is, it was an extremely incredible performance by the front seven of Tampa Bay. And they obviously got some Mahomes, and it showed during the game. Tampa Bay deserved to win this game. A downright and outstanding performance by them, dominating performance. And, they're going to be in contention again next year.
Yeah. I mean, talk about a true ass whooping. That's what this game was. Just plain and simple. Like, you can't put it any other way. You can't sugarcoat it. The Chiefs came out and they were soft. I didn't think they could be softer than Green Bay was against Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship, but they managed to do that. I mean, Tampa Bay, in every right, like you said, they deserve to win this game. And I saw some of what happened in this game coming, but I still believe that Kansas City would pull it out, because I always refer to how big of a margin of error that this team has, and how Tampa Bay also has that because of their defense and Tom Brady. But, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's far more talented of a quarterback, and he's a better quarterback now than Tom Brady. And I know there's going to be a lot of Mahomes slander coming his way soon because of this game, but we'll get to that later. But Tom Brady may have the Super Bowl MVP to his name, but in my heart, it's Todd Bowles. I mean, what he did in this game was immaculate. It was truly perfect. And I know, Kurt, you and Sully were saying, like you just brought up, how you were like, oh, Mahomes is so good against the blitz that he can avoid it. Well, Tampa only blitzed Mahomes 5 times in this game.
Yeah, it wasn't the blitz. It was a 4-man D-line pressure.
Exactly. And he just was getting bothered the entire game. He got pressured 28 times in this game, which is the most in Super Bowl history. That is utterly absurd. And it didn't help that Mahomes, I brought this up a few weeks back. I think I brought it back up in the video, in my playoff predictions video too, that when Mahomes drops back, he drifts way too much, and it completely messes with his offensive line. And the tackles in this game were getting absolutely abused by Shaq Barrett and JPP because of that. And Tampa's interior line did a great job of not allowing Mahomes to step up in the pocket and hit these throws that he's so used to making. I mean, Mahomes was throwing at all these weird ass angles. I mean, he was literally laid out on the ground. He was going
crazy.
He's looking like Superman, literally, and he damn near completed it.
Oh, it was absurd.
It was. And I will say this, in the first half, Mahomes was getting a lot more of a bad rap than I think he deserved. His receivers were dropping a lot of balls. He was getting pressured to hell and back. And he was hitting throws. They were just not connecting. The second half, though, he was just completely bothered. And I don't think anyone expected this scenario. Like, Doctor Strange in Endgame, he's saying, oh, there's 1 in 100 million chance of this happening. Well, this is the one scenario, because this is first time Patrick Mahomes has never scored a touchdown in his professional career or in his collegiate career. And this is his first loss by double digits. Like, no one would have expected that out of the Chiefs. Nobody. But Tampa, they got hot at the right time. They had their ups and downs in the season. But when push came to shove and the games got important, they pulled through. And that's what matters most in the NFL, is being able to overcome adversity. And that's what Tampa did, because they have the greatest of all time under center. So.
Yeah, speaking of that, 7 rings, 5 Super Bowl MVPs, the most ever. Tom Brady is so obviously everyone compares him to LeBron James, because LeBron James is also supposed to be like kind of like the GOAT of our generation, just as Tom Brady is for the NFL. And it's weird because for LeBron, I tend to, hate on him more than I should. I kind of slander him a little bit. Because honestly, LeBron, this isn't about LeBron, but LeBron does everything pretty much the way he should, the way someone should of his caliber should do it. And so does Tom Brady. But I don't slander Tom Brady at all. Just something, there are a lot of people that slander him because of his success. And they say, oh, I don't want Tom to win. He's won so much already. And that's not the way I'm thinking when I'm going into this. I want Mahomes to win because I love Mahomes, and I think that he's going to be the best QB ever. Just in terms of his talent is ridiculous. And I think that, as Romo was saying tonight, Mahomes is going to be back in the Super Bowl unless for like a catastrophic injury that no one hopes for. So, Mahomes is going to get his chances, but Tom getting that 7th ring is ridiculous. He's pretty much, I would say, like unbeatable in terms of GOAT, because we kind of were arguing this about in the ASC group chat. Tom Brady's he's 2-0 against Mahomes in the playoffs. Now, the first time they played offsides and the overtime. So that one, some people let it slide, but at the end of the day, it is a win for Tom Brady. And this one, of course, is another win for Tom Brady. And, like Sam said, in an ass-whooping fashion. So pretty good win for Tom Brady there. 7 rings pretty much can't be dethroned from being the GOAT. But what I do want to say about the Bucs defense is, I don't know when I saw the stat, but it was late in the 4th quarter, so probably didn't really change much. 82% of the plays, 2 high safeties for the Bucs. The most in like this season, the regular season, the highest percentage of 2 high safeties. And the reason they're able to do this so successfully, this wouldn't really be it's obviously what people think that's how you stop the Chiefs. But then you go, oh, wait, they have potentially the best receiving tight end that destroys the middle of the field, because you try to keep everyone, play prevent, or, it's double high safety for Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman, the speedsters. But Travis Kelce destroys everyone in the middle of the field. He had a decent game, but he did have some drops, but he had a pretty good game. But the reason why the Bucs are able to do this, they have an unbelievable linebacking core, and not to mention that they have a ridiculous defensive line. It's every single, layer of this defense was playing very, very well, and that's the definition of kind of how you stop the Chiefs. I mean, the Bucs were just playing almost perfect defense. So on top of that and some drops, that's going to equal to a 9-point game from the Chiefs, which is insane that they don't score a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes is going to be back. I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to make it to at least 2 more Super Bowls. He's just too talented. Although in the NFL, I do want to say that it's not like the NBA. People are comparing this to Michael Jordan, and they're saying, Mahomes, he doesn't have the ability to be the GOAT or whatever. He's losing games to the person that is considered the GOAT now. Football is much more of a team sport than the NBA is. They're saying, imagine if LeBron and Jordan went head to head and, Jordan was 2-0 against LeBron. Listen, it's the NFL. The quarterback is definitely the main part of the team, but there's 22 guys on each side of the ball, not to mention injuries in the NFL are so much more impactful than the NBA. I mean, just look at the Chiefs' offensive line. They miss one guy, they got to move the, left guard to the right tackle. Then, the left tackle goes to the other side. And the entire O-line was, all around. They didn't know what they were doing as JPP and Shaq Barrett were feasting. Mahomes took so many shots this game. It was absurd. And he did his best Josh Allen impression where he just runs back 45 yards behind the line. But the difference is Mahomes actually gets a ball off that's almost catchable. Tyreek Hill dropped one in the first quarter I think it was the first quarter that Mahomes went back like 15 yards and it should have been a touchdown. It hit him right in the face mask. And then
Iron Pringle in the corner of the end zone.
Was ridiculous. Pringle almost caught that one, but it was pretty much like probably uncatchable.
And then Darrell Williams on the Superman one where he's like laid out.
Well, the funny thing about the Williams one was I think it was Romo was like, oh, it was deflected, but it literally
it's in his face.
It just bounced off, and I'm like, no, it didn't. That is easily should have been a catch, and that was so annoying because can you imagine if he pulls off that play? That'd be so.
It would have been insane, but it's just the fact that they were already down 22.
Yeah, right.
And 5 minutes left in the game, and I mean, who cares now at that point? Because I mean, it'd been probably the best throw in Super Bowl history, but like you're getting blown out. Yeah. Like it's garbage time in the minds of everyone else.
It's fun for the highlights. It's all.
But yeah, where the Bucs won in this game is the trenches, and this is probably this is the best, most lopsided line of scrimmage battle since the Broncos against the Seahawks in 2013, where the Bucs D-line was dominating the Chiefs offensive line and the Bucs offensive line was dominating the Chiefs defensive line. I mean, Brady wasn't getting touched and Mahomes was pulling off the Josh Allen, like you were saying. He was running back 30 yards, it seemed like, every other play. And that's what you got to invest in the NFL, because pressure and protection is massive. And I've been saying this for a long time now. The Bucs are the most talented roster in the NFL, and that was the main difference for why they won against the Packers, is because they're such a deep team and they literally have no weaknesses on that roster. Like, can you think of a weakness on the Bucs roster? Because I don't think there is as of right now.
Quarterback.
Yeah, right. But that was a big difference in this game, and yeah, I mean, kudos to Tampa. I mean, you can't really criticize them when they just blew out the defending world champions. You can't.
No.
And
no.
I'm seeing people trying to criticize. I'm seeing people try to criticize Tom Brady right now. I'm like, how?
No, Tom played great.
The people that are disrespecting Tom Brady are just the people that are trying to be in this different way and just think different. It's
which is a big thing these days. Let me tell you, people in sports are just trying to, if you say the opposite of what everyone else says, even though it's just so clear that the Bucs played beautiful football, including Tom Brady, if you say, no, Tom's not that good, apparently you get a bunch of credibility these days or something. I don't know. People like
Mike
you.
Evans
it's crazy.
And Chris Godwin did nothing in this game. He did this with Gronk. Who was it? Gronk, Fournette.
Gronk? Yeah, Fournette was a beast. Yeah. Fournette was an actual beast this game. What a pickup for them. And I want to say, Gronk catching those touchdowns. I've been watching a lot of Gronk stuff recently, just interviews he's been on. The guy's actually, I mean, I knew he was hilarious, but the guy, I don't even know what goes through his head. I'm going to say not much, but he's fucking hilarious.
He's hilarious.
So when he caught that touchdown, I was like, wow, he must be so psyched. Because in an interview recently I saw with him, they said, Gronk winning all these Super Bowls. I think that's Gronk's, is that his fifth? Or is that? I think that was his fifth. No, that was his sixth. That was his sixth.
He got drafted in 2011, didn't he?
Yeah, but Tom had 3 rings before 2011, right?
Yeah. So this is
okay. So that was his fourth. Okay, that was his fourth. Because I remember they asked him.
His fourth, yeah.
They asked him, and they're like, "Oh, which is the most important ring to you?" And he was basically saying the first one's always the most important because it gets you in the club of I won a Super Bowl. But he's honestly, this one is probably going to be my favorite if I end up winning it, just because I came out of retirement and I'm doing it with Tom Brady again. So when he caught that touchdown, I was like, wow, I was hyped for Gronk, honestly, because he's fucking hilarious. So crazy that. I mean, Belichick was rolling watching this game, I'm sure. Watching Tom Brady complete 2 touchdown passes to Robert Gronkowski in the Super Bowl for a different franchise than the Patriots, I can't even imagine what Belichick was doing. But, kudos to the Bucs. Played perfectly. I want to ask you guys three penalty calls. I'm going to say if they should have been called or not. That's what I want you guys to answer. First one, Mike Evans bomb. You know what I'm talking about. Penalty or not?
The exact same play Scotty Miller ran against us. And
yeah, pretty much.
In the championship. No, that was uncatchable. It was uncatchable. No.
Yeah, I'm going to go with no.
And he tripped over himself.
Wow. Okay. That one, it definitely was incidental contact. It wasn't really a trip.
It wasn't as bad as the other one that they called in the end zone.
That was the next one I was going to ask, is the end zone one. That one was way over his head.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's where do you because he made the contacts potentially pretty early on in the throw, before the ball was even thrown almost. So how does that work? That's what I'm trying to wonder out. It's a timing thing. Because I feel like the contact was pretty early on in the play, right when the ball was getting released, and that's why they threw it. But after the fact that you realize it's uncatchable, can you take it back? I don't know.
Hey, man, I will just say this. Like Kurt said, this game was not won because of the officials. I mean, it just wasn't. I mean, the calls helped the Bucs, fortune, but they didn't win because of the calls. They won because they were just the superior team in this game. Like, they just dominated in every facet. But if you compare, I'm going to sound super salty for a second here, but if you compare this to the NFC Championship game where they just let them play the entire game, like they called nothing, like Aaron Rodgers' interception, blatant holding, they didn't call shit. There's another hold that they didn't call in that game, like an MVS, and they just didn't call anything until the last play of the game with Kevin King. That's how they called that game, and it was great up until obviously the end because they weren't consistent. But with this game, they called everything, and a lot of it was questionable. There just needs to be some consistency. That's all I need to say here, but I don't know how you guys
Just let them play.
That's what I would prefer, but obviously the NFL didn't feel that way in this game, and I don't know. I know I'm probably just sounding like a salty fanboy.
Well, I mean, immediately upon halftime, they went to, the analyst desk with like Boomer and everything, and they all agree. They're like, that Super Bowl, that first half was a game of like referees. It wasn't a game of a team versus the players versus the players. It was a game versus players versus referees.
I will say though, what I thought was annoying about the whole like halftime thing was like the whole focal point was strictly on like the refs. There was like no topic about like any of what transpired in the first half from like a team standpoint. And at one point I was like, I mean, are we just going to talk about refs the whole time? Because obviously we're having this conversation and it mattered to a point where like the refs obviously had a say.
You can only talk about it so much.
Right. I mean, I've said it and I'll say it again. Are we not like going to realize that Tampa Bay played an incredible first half and obviously they followed it up with an incredible second half? I just thought that obviously should have been more of a discussion.
Yeah, I agree. Pretty much what you're getting from that is ASC is doing the halftime show next year, I think.
Yeah, can we please?
Yeah.
Even though I do like
the rights.
The CBS crew is pretty good, but that was my only concern.
There are people slandering Tony Romo.
Oh, don't even get me started. Do not even get me started. Tony Romo's been in the broadcasting booth for now 3 years now, and people like hold him to such high standards because he's this like huge name now, and obviously people are like, oh, he's this incredible analyst. He can predict the plays or whatever. People forget, like I said, he's been doing this for 3 years now. Obviously, he's going to have a slip up. He's had slip ups all 3 years, but no one's going to follow it because who in the right mind?
What did he do tonight? That was like, what did people have?
People are annoyed just by like, he'll like continue on talking about something that like won't like the kind of like the player or whatever's dead. He'll just kind of like ramble on and people are annoyed with his rambling. And it's just like other small stuff that people will like find like the smallest things about him and like be like, oh, Tony Romo's not even that good. I'm like, please, you do a better job than Tony Romo, because I can guarantee you there is a small number of people who can do a better job in the analyst booth. No,
you're in that small group.
Kurt, you would be so much better than Tony Romo.
The only thing I didn't like about what Tony Romo did tonight was when Winfield threw up the peace sign in Tyreek's face.
He was like, I don't like
the
that.
flag, and Tony Romo was like, "There's no place for that in the game." Like, come on, listen. Tyreek just threw that up 8 weeks ago, or whatever it was, on you two times to put up 200 receiving yards in the first quarter. You just kicked his ass in the Super Bowl. Go throw that peace sign in his face. That's all I gotta say.
Like,
I don't understand why taunting isn't allowed in the NFL. Like, it's.
I agree. It's like unless you're like physically like hurting, unless you're like getting on them. Like, that was just like, I don't know, he threw a peace sign in his face.
That is the most worth it unsportsmanlike conduct penalty ever.
Yeah.
If I'm him, like, I do not care whatsoever.
Yeah, my dad was like, "You're winning, don't do that." I'm like, yeah, he's winning. He kicked his ass in the Super Bowl. Go talk trash.
And he was talking shit to him weeks before, and he's like,
exactly.
All right, well,
the whole game though was like, the whole game from a verbal standpoint was like, it was kind of chippy at points. Obviously, we saw like Brady was getting into it.
Brady and Tyron, yeah.
He was getting after it, and then he went at him multiple times, and he went at him one time and scored a touchdown. He went right up to him. He's like, "Yeah, I want to fight at you, bitch." Yeah. I'm like, "Let's go."
It was funny.
Let's go, Brady. Yeah, Brady's interesting. You would think that he's someone who like doesn't let someone like phase him, which he doesn't. He doesn't let people phase him, but like he lets people like jaw at him, and he'll jaw back, obviously. But you would think he'd be someone that would just like ignore it, because he's so like, he's a student of the game. He's 43 years old. He's like a dad to everyone on the field. You would think that he'd just be like, "Oh, it's another kid just like yelling at my face," but like, no, he gets right up in his face and he's like, "I'm coming after you." And also, Gronk and AB catching touchdown passes in the Super Bowl in the year 2021. Like, AB, when he caught that first pass, do you see how hyped that guy was?
Oh yeah.
I thought he was going to explode with like dopamine or something. He was juiced out of his mind.
Yeah.
I
I
was
can't even
like,
imagine what he felt during the touchdown. He was probably like,
yeah,
"Oh, this
that's
is absurd."
crazy. And obviously, he's done some crazy things, and he's maybe not the best person, but I'm happy for him because that was dope. Just because like he is an unbelievable receiver that kind of gets underrated now because of all the things he's done and the drama he's caused, and everyone kind of hates him. But now he's in the Super Bowl and he just won it, caught a touchdown pass. He deserves that for the career that he had. So I know you're listening to that, AB, so props to you. And yeah, does anyone have anything else to say about the game itself before we talk about the halftime show?
I do want to ask you guys, because this was a very, I don't know why this was so like hotly debated in the chat. This is way too forward thinking, but I have to bring this up because the chat was such a mess about this. With Mahomes losing 2 games to Brady, does this badly hurt his legacy?
No.
Yeah, I remember this discussion.
Yeah,
No,
I
it
have
doesn't.
to ask it because this is such a dumb thing.
I mean,
It doesn't. Okay.
Here's the
Kurt,
thing
you
I'll
can go.
say. It's like, obviously, if we're comparing them at the end of their careers, and it's like such a tight race, it's like, oh, half the crowd saying Mahomes, half the crowd saying Brady, and you can use that as a as a point, and you're like, oh, well, Tom Brady beat him twice, even beat him in a Super Bowl. You know, from a head-to-head standpoint, I'm going to go with Brady. Sure, I understand that, but it's so unpredictable to see what Mahomes' career is going to turn out to be. If he wins 8 Super Bowls. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if he wins 8 Super Bowls and obviously dominates the league for years to come, he's the GOAT. I mean, we can all agree on that standpoint. But if he wins, like, you know, if he doesn't win another Super Bowl and he kind of falls off this cliff, which that's not going to happen, I'm just using a what if, then this game won't matter whatsoever. So
This is the way I look at it. Tom Brady, undisputed GOAT right now. For the things that have to align to be the next Tom Brady and win 7 Super Bowl rings, even if you're someone like Mahomes, who I think is more talented than Brady, he's a better player. It's unbelievable. I'm not going to say like the situation that Tom Brady found himself in because he's a lot of the situation. He's a huge part of it. But just the idea of Belichick with the weak division and the fact that just the management they've had and the franchise they were able to make in that dynasty together, it was a culmination of a lot of things, mostly Brady. I will say Brady played the biggest part of it all. But at the end of the day, you know, it's hard to get all of those things to align for that many years to be able to go to that many Super Bowls because you have injuries and whatnot, whatever it is, mismanagement from the organization. So Mahomes, I think it's unlikely the guy can go win 7 Super Bowls. Now he's already been to 2. He obviously won 1, had a chance to win tonight. If he wins tonight, I think there's a chance he gets to, 7 rings. Obviously Brady would only be at 6, but I just feel like Mahomes at the end of his career, obviously this is a total estimate, but I say he's going to have, 3 to 5 rings. And at the end of the day, his resume might not look as good as Brady's, but I'm still going to go down as saying he's a more talented player. He's my best QB of all time, and Tom Brady is my greatest QB of all time. That's kind of how I view it. That's how it's going to go down. But like Kurt said, it's extremely unpredictable. Who knows what's going to happen to Mahomes? So we'll just go from there.
Don't you think that's kind of a double standard, though?
In what sense?
Well, you're being like, oh, I think I would prefer him to Brady in this scenario, but like but you're also, the question poses if they're close, like if you get what I'm saying. You kind of get what I'm saying.
I don't really understand what you're saying.
It's hard to put into words what I mean.
like, all I got to say is Mahomes is the GOAT. End of story.
No, I think I kind of know what you mean.
Like you're having these, like you're having these expectations for Mahomes that may be too drastic,
Yeah.
Like I thought after 2010, I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to lead us to 5 Super Bowls.
Oh yeah, so did I. I always think the most absurd things whenever there's like an athlete that's
But-
amazing, like Luca. I think he's gonna win like 5 MVPs, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
But obviously, the team around him has held him back from getting to the Super Bowl again. I mean, he's lost 4 straight NFC Championship games. And I will say this, every Aaron Rodgers-led Packers team never scored under less than 20 points in a playoff game. He's not the problem in these games. The teams around him. And
Sam really wanted to say that one. He smiled when he said that.
I do. But football is such a team-oriented sport. You said it yourself. And I think it's a possibility that Mahomes could have that same kind of career path
As Rodgers?
Well, I don't know.
No, because I agree.
It really
It's-
depends.
It does, yeah.
That's why it's so
Football is-
unpredictable.
It's
That's
so
what
hard
I'm
to predict.
saying. You can't give this double standard of does this greatly hurt his legacy when we don't even know what the hell his legacy is yet. So I don't want to hear people talking about, oh, this greatly hurts his GOAT status. The dude could flame out in 3 years. We don't fucking know.
Yeah, exactly. It would greatly hurt his legacy if he
It could be the
never
worst.
returns to the Super Bowl again. Yeah, but if he goes to the Super Bowl 3-4 more times and he ends up winning 2 of those and he has 3 rings at the end of the day, he's got a great legacy.
Yeah. All right.
So-
I just had to get that out there. Glad we at least answered that. But we're running out of time here. But I will ask you guys, the Weeknd halftime show, yay or nay?
I say yay.
I say yay. I think
I
it got
liked it.
way too hated on. The beginning was kind of
did get hated a lot.
but when it went from the House of Balloons to the Blinding Lights transition, that was flames. That was fire. I love the whole Blinding Lights. Blinding Lights is such a fire song. It will never
yeah,
not be
yeah.
such a bop.
It's fire.
Yep.
At the beginning, I couldn't understand what he was saying.
The
I don't
audio
know
was
what-
horrible.
Yeah, the audio
in
was
this-
bad.
in this.
And I
I
think
also-
I didn't love the song he started off with because he was kind of like the Weeknd's best songs are when you like I don't know how to describe it, but like you get in like a vibe. It's like a certain mood. And he was more like rapping on I don't know what song he did. What the first one was.
It was
Okay,
Starboy.
Starboy. No, I actually do like Starboy. I'm sorry, but the very beginning it was just too much rapping for me. Like the Weeknd's
Yeah, I
not much
get
of
what
a
you mean.
rapper.
When he
Yeah.
sings, he's so much better.
Yes, it's
I
more of
agree.
like an angelic like feel from the Weeknd, more of a vibe. So I think those were the better moments in the performance.
Yeah.
And also like they were able to do insane stuff because they weren't constricted to the field like with all the fans around them. So they were like when they were showing the thing of it, my dad was like, "Who is dropping from the sky?" I'm like, "Yo, that guy's like 35 feet tall." It was like it's like a statue. I'm like, "That is not a dude." But yeah, they were able to do some crazy shit with like the stage and when he went back and he had the camera in his face and I thought I was gonna throw up and then it was pretty dope though.
The whole like whatever that small room, whatever you want to classify it as, where everyone was
like a
just like
maze.
bundled up. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah,
that
I
was
didn't really understand
was
what was
cool.
happening.
It was cool,
though. It
though.
was
I
cool.
liked
yeah.
It was different.
It was not better than I don't know last year. Shakira. And
Last
Jay
year's was
were
better.
So good.
Oh,
Yeah.
Shakira and J-Lo put on a show.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons.
I will say though, like I said this in the chat, but this year's performance, like it's definitely not the best performance I've ever seen. We can all agree on that, but it by no means was the worst. I'd give it a
Not even
solid
close.
6 or 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it was very solid.
It was good.
I
didn't
really have no
expect any
complaints.
less.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean the Weeknd's fire though. So like if he
Yeah,
sucked,
go stream the Weeknd.
yeah,
honestly.
he wasn't cold.
He needs his help. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, for the for halftime, yes. Now, one more question before we leave. It's the end of the NFL season. Who's gonna win it next year? That's what everyone's talking about now. They want to jump to conclusions, so let's jump, okay?
Who's
boys?
gonna win it, or who's our?
Who's your
Super
matchup?
Bowl
Who's your matchup? Who's your matchup?
I don't want to be that guy, but
I got
I'm
a
gonna
really
say,
boring one, but
I'm gonna say a rematch.
really,
Yeah.
I think Chiefs, Packers. That's mine. Chiefs, Packers.
I'm saying a rematch because I think Tampa is going to be able to keep most of this team together because a lot of their talent is on really cheap contracts. I mean, all their old guys are saying they're coming back in post-game interviews right now, and I think they're going to make it a priority to keep Shaq and keep Godwin, and they're going to keep this team together. They're going to dominate the NFC South because the Saints are in cap hell. And Green Bay is going to be losing a lot of key players this offseason. So I think Tampa is going to be the favorite in the NFC. and I just think Kansas City's too damn good again. So I think it's gonna be a rematch. As of right now, I gotta wait for the offseason. So I hate doing this, but that's just kind of my viewpoint.
I hate doing this. Off the way top of my head, I'm gonna go with. I kind of want to go Chiefs Niners again.
Chiefs Niners. Wow.
I almost picked Niners, but I thought about it and I was like, they're too good. That's what I was thinking.
I mean, like you said, we kind of have to see what goes down in free agency before we can make a whole educated decision. But
yeah, and people are trying out here to predict records of teams next year. It's fucking ridiculous. It's way too early. But that's going to be it for the Highlighted All Sports Culture podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Next week, we'll be back. Goodbye.